Live from the campus of Westfield State University, this is 89.5 FM, WSKB, Westfield.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donut Shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:01. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host.
Easy for you to say.
It's easy for me to say. I'm still getting myself organized here. And I'm in the studio this morning with the chairman of the board, Pete Coles. Good morning, Pete.
Good morning.
All right. So I was busy texting my first guest just as my wake-up reminder, because last month he woke up and said, aren't I supposed to be someplace? So hopefully Dr. Akinele Lovelace will be with us first hour, and Jen DeFune will be with us second hour. So we have a full slate today. Right. So
I didn't see you last night. Did you make it to the advisory dinner?
I didn't make it to the dinner. I was at my meeting, my advisory
Gotcha.
meeting. But I am a little overwhelmed because, it's we're approaching the holidays. Our new executive director, Mike Squindo, is back after 2 weeks being at home with his wife, Liz, and new baby,
Nice.
Elizabeth Taylor Squindo. Yeah. So, and his son, Wyatt, his 2-year-old son, Wyatt. So, so it's kind of like he came back. So now, there's been a lot of debriefing on things that happened over the last couple weeks. And of course, he's still really new to this job anyway. So still trying to, navigate through. We have the holidays coming. Next week is Thanksgiving. So,
that creeped up on you, didn't it?
You know what, Pete? It absolutely did. And it really did. And to be honest with you, we had our meeting for the Allied Health. I'm on the Allied Health board or shop board, advisory board. And I went back to the senior center and was just trying to get some stuff done for next week. And plus, of course, as always, I'm trying to get the December newsletter done a little ahead of schedule because it will come out the Saturday after Thanksgiving. And I don't really want to be, writing it and Jim Corwin doesn't want to be proofing it with me on Thanksgiving Day. So, yeah, just a lot of stuff going on. And I hated to miss the dinner, which is sort of like the best part of the fall meeting over here at Westfield Technical Academy. And I'm sure there was an amazing spread of food, but I was at the meeting. I was there.
They cooked in the new combi oven that they have, that massive thing. They had 7 pork butts in there, and they had roast pork.
And I missed it.
It
was delicious, I'm sure.
Yes.
What I should have done was said, hey, can I have like a to-go since I'm going back to the senior center and doing city work? But
I'm sure Stacy Boysa would have accommodated you.
I know. And you know what? It didn't even occur to me. It's one of those days. Plus, now I've got grandparent babysitting duty as well. So throw that in. So somewhere yesterday afternoon, I had a couple hours of, Grace she went back to work. So now we've got school and working part-time, and we have someone coming in to help a few mornings a week.
I was going to say, sometimes you need some time for yourself, too.
Yep. Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, we have a wonderful, nanny who comes in 3 mornings a week while Grace is in school. So that's super. And, of course, the dad, Isaac, Charlie's dad is involved as well. Oh, yeah, he's absolutely wonderful. So it's sometimes they're just like yesterday, there was that gap. There was like a 2-hour gap of Gary had to leave. Isaac wasn't coming till right after work, so I went home for a couple hours and then I went back for my meeting. And I did some shopping for the senior center where, again, holiday stuff, just trying to get prepared for special events and parties and all of those good things. And then snuck in my advisory board meeting here with the Allied Health Department. Yesterday was brown bag food delivery, so today is distribution. And they gave us some fresh fruit, so that was sort of an added layer to the step. And speaking of Allied Health, I have to shout out to Maureen Belarjan, who's the director there, and Jackie Barkham, and Angel, whose last name I can never, Arias, I think is how that's pronounced, and the students. They helped us, they help us each month with brown bag. They did all of the assembly yesterday. The food comes in the morning. And then the students come usually around 12:30. I know yesterday they had a packed schedule, so they got there a little early. And we basically said to them, we are all tied up. We're all running around. Mike Squindo he is at City Hall for a meeting, and Lynn is in the middle of open enrollment, Lynn Hills, and I was doing 12 things. And we kind of said to them, you guys know what to do. Go do it. And they were like, we're good. We got this. And so now it's gotten to the point where we don't really even have to do much supervision in there.
That's kind of how I got with my co-op student. I was like, listen, you're supposed to be the top of your class.
Yep.
Allegedly, you're the valedictorian or going to be the valedictorian because you're on track for that.
Yep.
I said, I'm going to give you tasks and you're going to perform them. If you have questions, I'm here.
Yes.
But I have my own stuff to do and I don't have time to babysit.
Yeah. And you know what? I am just so proud of the students here at Westfield Tech. You know, these are high school students.
Right.
And they're not, they're not seniors in college or anything, but to be able to say to them, listen, you all know what has to be done. You know what the end goal is tomorrow, meaning today, we're going to be doing the food distribution. So they'll be with us in the morning. And so, kudos to all of them. They are also doing, the Allied Health students are also working with me on the Sand for Seniors program. So we are delivering buckets of sand to those seniors who signed up for that. And we're trying to get that done before the snow starts falling, because we don't know when that's going to happen. So, and we had twice as many buckets to deliver, more than twice as many as we had last year. The numbers are just exploding all over the place.
That's what I told my girlfriend. She just got 2 pallets of pellets delivered.
Yep.
I'm like, those have to come in before it starts to snow.
Yep. Yeah. And everything is a process. When you think about it, it's like, oh, okay, so you're going to deliver some buckets of sand. Well, first of all, everybody has to be called, and I have to get everybody's address, and I have to make sure the students know on the sheet that I give them, where are you putting this bucket of sand? Because you don't want to put it just outside where the snow is going to cover it over. These are elderly people. So we've got to, so there's a whole process to this, and lots of stuff. And, of course, Mary Lou and I were talking about, upcoming holiday events. And it's not just the events and the parties and the dinners and the curbside and the indoor, but it's also things like we coordinate with the students here on the poinsettia sale. They sell poinsettias. And, so I said to Mary Lou, in looking at my, my cheat sheet of what do we do every year for the holidays, it's like, oh boy, are we going to be getting, having a poinsettia delivery? Because we like to, obviously be prepared, have the table set up, have a cash box ready, have our signs ready. So that was an email over to Nate Sperry here at Technical Academy. And yes, they will be delivering them. And it's always right after Thanksgiving. And as you said, Pete, everything is just like sneaking up on us. It's like, wow, I'm driving in today going, how is Thanksgiving next week? I don't even know how we got here. I really don't. It's all a blur. This fall has been a complete blur for me. So we're working on it, but craziness. How was your weekend?
Good.
Yeah?
I kind of remember
anything? I know. Well, it was a long weekend. We had
Veterans Day, so we had the Veterans Day parade and ceremony. Mm-hmm. And now that's up to me because Kenny has to cover Southwick. So
that's right.
I took the day off from Mount Holyoke, but I also had I was invited to DJ my ex-mother-in-law's surprise 80th birthday party.
Oh, how fun!
Right.
Oh, that's fun.
So it was like catching up with everybody I haven't seen in a bit.
Yeah.
And they were like, "How you doing? Everything going? We follow you on Facebook and congratulations on your engagement." And it's like,
how fun!
Yep.
Great.
A couple of years ago, that probably would have been awkward. But the farther we get out from the divorce, it was like it's a little. Even my ex-wife was like, "Yeah, for a long time I was pissed at you, but I think I'm past that now." And she was one that called me to DJ it, so I'm like, "Cool."
That is really neat.
Yes.
It's fun when you get to a point where everybody can just kind of settle in, and we're sort of going through that because, of course, I've shared on air that my daughter Grace had been engaged, and she actually ended the engagement, and just for and she has said all along, Isaac is a great person. He didn't do anything wrong. He did not do anything wrong. Mm-hmm. I think she just had some second thoughts and some doubts, and maybe it was just the timing. Who knows what will happen down the road.
Right.
But anyway, in the meantime, of course, she found out she was pregnant, and so she's living with us at home. And,
maybe things will change when she gets through school and gets settled into a job.
But you know what, Pete? It's so interesting
because some people
because
aren't ready before that.
Yeah, I don't know, and she doesn't know. But what's nice now, you were sort of talking about the awkwardness, and of course, all throughout the pregnancy, how awkward was that between Grace and Isaac. And, I kept saying to her, the two of you just need to figure it out because now you've brought a child into the world. And now she is the center of,
and that's your bond no matter whether you're married or not. There's a bond there.
Well, about 2 weeks ago, Grace said to me, it's comfortable now. The awkwardness is gone. They can joke around. They send each other pictures all the time of the baby, and they're flexible with the schedule. Hey, can you, I got called into work. can you watch the paper? Sure. And I'm really glad they got there this quickly, because I was a little concerned that it might take a little longer. But you know what? They are really doing great, on the same page, do doctor's appointments together with Charlie, and I think what's nice is they're just able to kind of relax around each other, get back into where they're kind of joking around, and and that's a nice place to be.
Usually that leads to a wonderful thing like a marriage.
Well, people
or rekindle a relationship.
Who knows? I just find there's much more of a comfort level there, and I just think that's so important. And I told Grace and I told Isaac, when you bring children into the world, you are the responsible parents. So, you got to put all this other stuff aside, and you have to figure it out. And,
Yep.
And I'm really proud of both of them for doing that. And it's very genuine. It's not like a fake, they're trying, but it's really genuine. I think both of them are phenomenal parents, and I think they really respect each other as parents, for their daughter. So I think that's a great place to be. So that's good. Well,
yeah, so that was fun. It was at Long Meadow Country Club.
What the question was your ex-mother-in-law surprised?
I think
Did
she
they pull
knew
it
that
off?
there was something. I don't think she knew the scope of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because all her friends were there, and a lot of family.
Nice.
All the family from around the country, and some of the extended family came in from Vermont and New York and things like that. So
super nice.
Yeah,
that's
it was fun.
Super nice. So
and then all her friends are like, "Oh my God, we haven't seen you in forever, and how you doing?" And that kind of thing. So I didn't insinuate myself into the party.
Yeah.
If people were curious, I let them come over and talk to me because I was working.
I think that's I think smart move. Great idea.
Right.
That's the way to do it, Pete, for
Yep.
sure. Well, I did. My goal this past weekend, because I had that extra day thrown in there, was to get our clothes switched around, and sort of Gary and I were kind of winterizing things, and he was out in the yard doing that, and I was inside doing that. It's exhausting. I've come to the conclusion that it's kind of exhausting to live in New England when you've got to do this,
That's why I want to retire to Florida.
Oh my goodness! And Lynn Hills, our senior benefits coordinator, was doing the same thing for her mom and dad. She was helping to switch their clothes around and everything. And she said, "Oh my God, by the end of the day, I was exhausted." And I said, "It is exhausting."
Yep.
Because when you're in New England, you've got all these heavy winter coats, and you've got boots. So it's not like just like, where things are lightweight and easy to move around. It's like, oh, you got to lug all this stuff. And Gary's, trading in the lawnmower for the snowblower. We're moving that around, and, getting the buckets of sand ready, and, all of that other good stuff. But better to do it now than, as we say, before the snow starts flying and we're all going, oh my gosh, when did this happen? How did
Amen
this
to that.
Right? So just in case, because I am working on the December newsletter, and this will be in the newsletter, but, just in case, it's that time of the year when we need to start reminding people that if we do have snow or ice and the schools are closed, the senior center is closed to the public. The staff is required to come in unless the mayor closes City Hall. So we are available by telephone. If there's a delayed opening in the school, then we open at noon. We don't do lunch that day, but we do all of the afternoon programs. And then someone asked me, and this is always a bit of a issue. Well, what happens if it starts snowing midday? Like in the morning.
Watch
what
the
happens?
news.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I said, well, then we make a bunch of announcements at the senior center. We kind of call it by ear. But a lot of times what happens is the facilitators of our programs or the instructors, they'll kind of make the decision. They'll kind of call in and say, listen, you know what? It's starting to snow out there. I'm not going to come in and do such and such a group.
Yep.
Call everybody and, tell them I'll see you next week or next month, whatever. So a lot of it is kind of out of our hands. But anyway, that article will be in the December newsletter, as it is every year, December, January, February. We do that whole inclement weather thing. Pete and Lenore are great about getting it right up on the city website and on WCPC. And, of course, it's usually announced if the broadcast is live on WSKB. So all good. But that's kind of how we roll. If the schools are closed, we're closed.
We get the word out.
That's the bottom line. Yep, exactly. All of our local TV, news stations, it's, publicized there. So, yeah. And I realize that I don't think I will be having to, to call the stations and do what I typically do. That's not my problem anymore. So, of course, I do have to inform Mike, this is now your problem. So he's, I think the new director, Mike Squindo, is, as he said, he's learning the differences of how things are done in Westfield versus how things were done in Agawam, which is where he was the director for the past 6 years. So, and he said, there are definitely some differences, lots of overlap, which is really nice. And certainly he's, as a director, he's not new to the position. So that's been super helpful. Yep. But I know he met with the auditor yesterday. He said he's trying to, he said he has more freedom with Munis in Westfield than he did in Agawam, so there were some nuances that he wanted to learn. So, which is great because, the only thing I used Munis for basically was to do my annual budget and to approve expenses. And it's like, okay, somebody else can do all of that other stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, so anyway, all good. All right, our guest is here. We're going to talk about men's health awareness because it's Men's Health Awareness Month. So let's take our first break, and we're going to bring in Dr. Akinyele Lovelace, our resident primary care physician, with his own personal song written personally for him by his father-in-law. It's called The Doctor, and this is by Diamond Temple. We'll be back.
Got this monkey on my back, I'd like nipping at my heels, turning on my wheels. What's this pain in my chest? No, I really don't want to gas. Appointment overdue. See, Joy Island when I woke up yesterday, and I can't remember if I took my meds today. It's alright, I won't remember anyway. Rock it like a two-step, then call the doctor. Then call the doctor. So you got a little foot pain, unexpected weekend. It's time to refrain from what you do. A little lost in your cup, sounding bites, that's what's up from a noblest point of view. You see, I can't tell you that you really need to learn. It's no fun walking around when you got hot burn. Alright, it's time to know that you really need to go and call the doctor. Call the doctor.
Underwriting support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Greater Westfield Chamber of Commerce, the voice of business for the Greater Westfield communities. Informing, educating, advocating, the Chamber provides opportunities for members to make meaningful connections on local, regional, and state levels. For more information on the Chamber's many events, workshops, and programs, as well as the benefits of membership, visit westfieldbiz.org. The Chamber focuses on the most important economy, yours.
I'm Mark Auerbach. Join me every Friday at 8 a.m. for Arts Beat, where you'll meet interesting actors, directors, designers, and musicians here in Western New England.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 at 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:20. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I am in the studio this morning with Pete Coles, producer Pete Coles, the man behind the glass over there.
Morning.
Good morning. And our guest first hour is Dr. Akinyele Lovelace. We like to call him our resident primary care physician. He's been with us for I think like 9 of the 10 years we've been doing this or something.
Yeah.
You've been with us for a long time.
Yeah, it's been a minute. It feels good though.
It's been a minute.
It's been
You're
good.
so funny. So this is November is Men's Health Awareness Month.
Did you call it Movember?
Yeah,
Is that right?
yeah. There is. That's the nickname is Movember, and so let's talk about that for 1 second. It's called Men's Health Awareness Month, also known as Movember.
Oh.
It's an annual global campaign that encourages men to grow mustaches and participate in various activities to raise awareness about men's health issues. This month-long event focuses on promoting physical and mental well-being among men, addressing issues such as prostate cancer, testicular cancer, mental health challenges, and suicide prevention. Movember provides a platform for men to discuss their health openly, seek support, and take proactive steps towards a healthier and happier life. It aims to challenge the stigma around men's health issues, spark conversations, and promote early detection and intervention. Movember originated in Australia in 2003, so it's been around for 20 years, when a group of friends decided to grow mustaches to raise awareness about prostate cancer and depression in men. It has since evolved into a global movement with millions of participants and supporters. Movember has funded numerous men's health projects and initiatives and has become a symbol of solidarity and awareness. Over the years, Movember has contributed to significant advancements in men's health research and has encouraged men to take charge of their well-being. And you know, the first time I heard the term Movember it was actually the Westfield Police Department. There was a whole group of police officers who grew mustaches, didn't shave, like they didn't shave at all in November. And I remember saying, okay, well, what's that all about? And they were the ones who said, well, it's really all about Movember, which is sort of the nickname of this, but it's men's health awareness throughout the month. And I think, I just think, like, what a great idea, because I think a lot of times we forget. You know, we talk a lot about breast cancer for women because October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And that's, although not completely unique to women, because men can develop breast cancer as well, but by and large. But we don't talk about, I think, a lot of things that are more unique to men. And so I think this is a great opportunity to do that.
I agree. I think when we initially think about those who consume healthcare, and we're just going to go based on men and women, men typically, or even boys, once you finish with your pediatrician and you've gotten your shots, you don't necessarily require a relationship with a healthcare provider.
Okay.
Women, young girls on the other hand, tend to have relationships with some form of the healthcare community. Primarily, it's going to be your GYN.
Yeah.
Right? Because usually within your 20s and 30s, and now into your 40s, as a woman, you have to have some type of relationship because those are the years where you can bear children.
Yeah.
Right? But for men, well, they're kind of out in the wilderness, right?
Unless, you know, I never thought about that.
Unless they don't have, unless you have a chronic condition, or unless you innately have something where you need to have that relation, you don't necessarily have it, and so what happens is you tend to have periodic check-ins, just to kind of check in and see what's going on. And so initially as a young man, once you've kind of graduated and you've moved into the workforce, or you're in your 20s, the primary concern is testicular cancer, right? So I always ask my guys, I say, hey, make sure you have 2, not 3, right? And we kind of joke about it, but that's kind of the segue into kind of creating that relationship, where you're vulnerable, right? And that level of vulnerability sometimes is something that takes time to kind of becoming comfortable with. I don't need to talk about what women have to have in regards to pap smears and how uncomfortable that may be.
Sure.
But men don't have to subject themselves to that scenario until a little bit later in life, when it comes to being something routine. And so you can kind of bounce around and float around and not really have a relationship in your 20s and 40s. And in your 20s, in your 20s and 30s, those are the times in which, speaking as a man in general, you kind of reach your peak when it comes to your ability to achieve your physical performance, right? So, for those who follow sports, we tend to kind of think as, the adult males, we consider them in their prime, right?
Yeah.
In their 20s and 30s. And so that still translates across the board because you have your peak physical fitness and you have that young vigor, and you kind of know what to do with all that energy that all those hormones have created. You're able to reach your maximum potential at that stage. I think what happens though is then once you kind of get into your 40s, you start to notice you don't recover as fast as you used to. You thought you could run as fast as that high schooler, but that's not really a thing, right? Like it's not a thing anymore, right? And I look at myself. I was at Full Plate Fitness, which is here in town, and they do a great job working with the young adults and the high schoolers in training. And I'm there, and I see some of the high schoolers doing some sprints, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I can outrun those guys.
I can do that. I got this.
It's not that I can't do it. It's like, no, I can outrun those high schoolers, right? And so when I say it out loud, it sounds absurd. Like, what do you mean you can outrun those high schoolers? What are you talking about, Dr. Lovelace? But thank you.
I love it when I say it out loud. It sounds absurd.
And that's exactly what happened. So I decide that I just want to cut in line. Who is this guy? Cut in line and just try to outrun them, right? It's this, as if I had the ability still, but somewhere in my mind, right? I just remember that I was quick. I was and fit, so but the level, but it's not that you're not fit. It's just that level of physical prowess that a lot of men tend to have or think about still exists in their mind, even though those days are long gone. And so when they finally start coming to the providers, they love to recant and tell me stories about the things they used to do when they were in high school. It's like the classic Ted Bundy, where he pulls out his old high school football jersey and he tells about how he ran for 7 or 6 touchdowns, right? And you're just like, that's not the thing anymore, right? And so we have this conversation about what we used to be, and how things were. And so a lot of times with men, when they start coming to my office, or when I start having conversations with them, there is a conversation about what they were, and what they used to be able to do. And sometimes there's a level of disappointment because they've now aged to a certain extent. And accepting that concept that now I have to do some more maintenance of my body because I don't innately just have the ability to get up and just go do whatever it is I thought I used to be able to do is a concept that men struggle with, right? Because for those 20 some odd years, you almost felt invincible.
I was just going to say invincible is a word that came to my mind.
You sort of kind of do, because you just have this ability to recover. You have this ability to just work through the pain. You have the ability to just get up and just continue to just go, right? And then there comes a point where you're like, oh, wait a minute. I can't do it as much as I could. What's going on, right? And so the first conversation that I start to have when we start talking about men's health and men's awareness is performance. And it is usually us comparing ourselves to men in their 20s, right? So you say if I'm in my 40s or my 50s, and I'm now at my higher earning potential, where potentially at this stage in your life, you should be, in some type of almost managerial position, or some people are actually still laboring and they can keep up. And it's amazing to see. But then you start to realize, well, wait a minute, if I'm not doing what I was able to do in my 20s and 30s, what's wrong with me? And sometimes the conversation is, there's nothing wrong with you. This is just how we age as men. And that's okay. And so the conversations about performance are the first things that we start to talk about. And so that performance that I'm talking about would be performance when it comes to our physical ability, and then how we perform intimately, right? That has become the first kind of conversation. And I'm very happy that we've seen things like Viagra come to the market, and Cialis and Tadalafil and Levitra and Stendra and all of these outlets where we're able to now have a conversation about erectile dysfunction, right? And I think from a men's health perspective, It's something that affects a lot of men. It can start as early as the age of 18. And so it creates that conversation about sexual health. And I think for men and for the men that I see on a routine basis, that's kind of the first indication that there might be something wrong with my health.
Yeah.
And so from there, that gives me an opportunity as a provider, as a man, to have the conversation, say, hey, listen, everybody kind of has these moments, but maybe there's something more to this. And when we start talking about men's health and we start talking about erectile dysfunction, that then leads the opportunity for us to start talking about heart health and artery health, because the penis is an artery. And so if there is any dysfunction in that artery, well, maybe there's something going on with your heart. And so then that opens the opportunity to having the conversation about the man in general, the person in general, about what's going on. And so then when we start talking about that kind of performance, that the other part to that is, well, it may be that there might be something wrong artery-wise, but it could just be what's going on mentally, what's going on in your mind, right? And so we start to deal with the concept of erectile dysfunction and mental health. And so then it opens the door to having the conversation about your self-esteem, your hair, right? Like there's so many things that men care about that we don't necessarily talk about. And so it's been amazing to watch over the past, couple of decades now, where we now openly start talking about erectile dysfunction and it not being something that's some weird taboo, right?
Yep.
Because it is an organ that it doesn't necessarily mean you could just turn it off and on like a light switch. And so now we're having the conversation to say, well, hey, maybe let's look into these things. And so it's led us into a segue of having conversations about our entire health as men and what that health looks like. And so when you get into your 40s and your 50s, we're now having conversations about your relationship with your spouse, your relationship with your partner, your relationship with your body and how you treat it and what does that look like. And so those are the first kind of things that we started to talk about in men's health, which I'm very happy about now because having that conversation has been key to kind of having that relationship. And so now I have men that are not afraid to come in and talk to Dr. Lovelace about, well, I wasn't able to do like I did before, but there's always that one time where I just feel like I was in my 20s, and I'll say, well, hey, man, continue to work towards that, because there's opportunities to kind of recapture that. It just won't come as often, but the opportunity is there.
Absolutely. All right, well, let's take a breath, because that was a whole lot of introduction to this, but great topic, some really good points. I love the starting point about, just the fact that men in their 20s and 30s don't even necessarily have a relationship with a care provider because they're probably not seeing a care provider.
No, they're not.
I never really thought about that. Whereas women, the OBGYN appointments, it's just like, all right, who are you going to go to? Let's get this settled. I mean, that's a hot topic in women's circles, like, oh, I go here and, I would highly recommend. And, well, are you planning to have children? Not, but still, we're all about all of that stuff.
Not my dudes.
Not your dudes.
My dudes don't think in that way unless there's a real problem that gets in the way of something.
Right. Okay. Well, we're going to come back and we're going to dive into some of the specifics of some of the men's health issues and what's unique to them. My guest this morning is Dr. Akinyele Lovelace. If you're just joining us from Family Medicine Associates here in Westfield, our resident primary care physician. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. So I found this really great song. I had not heard it. This is like one of the fun things about hosting this show. It's called To Be a Man. It's by Dax. Okay. So we're going to listen to that. But the lyrics are right on to what we're talking about.
Awesome.
All right.
I can't hide myself. I don't expect you to understand. I just hope I can explain what it's like to be a man. It's a lonely road, and they don't care about what you know. It's not about how you feel, but what you provide inside that home. Yeah, I know this life can really beat you down. You wanna scream, but you won't make a sound. Got so much weight that you've been holding, but won't show any emotion. As a man that goes unspoken, now we can't cry when life gets hard. Unconditional unconditional lust for women, children, and dogs. We know that we just have to play our parts, and don't nobody give a damn about our broken hearts, yeah. As a man, we gotta pave our way. Our only function is to work and slave. There's no respect for you if you ain't paid. You're disregarded as a human and you can't complain. And if you ever make it up and actually reach that base and find a woman that you love and give her your last name, you'll feel the things that you provide is only why she stays. And when you try to explain, you'll say, I can't hide myself. I don't expect you to understand. I just hope I can explain what it's like to be a man. It's a lonely road, and they don't care about what you know. It's not about how you feel, but what you provide inside that home. Don't give up, keep fighting. As a man, our sun is our horizon, and our father's actions play a role, and we end up like them. So they can't let us see them hurt, cause we'll embody what they do and start a generational curse. No wonder most men are so depressed, all the things that they can't express. They go to war, get thrown on the shelf, then go back to war with their mental health. Then grab that bottle and ask for help, try to pull themselves out of hell, then fall back down and then realize that they're gonna have to do it themselves. It's the circle of life. As a man, you provide. They don't know what you're worth till the day that you die, and that's when they start crying. Then move on to a man to confide in. That's why we feel we can't hide ourselves. We don't expect you to understand. We just hope we can explain what it's like to be a man. It's a lonely road, and you don't care about what we know. It's not about how we feel, but what we provide inside that home. Inside that home. It's not about how we feel, but what we provide inside that home. Inside that home.
Underwriting for Community Radio on WSKB is brought to you in part by Rockies. Over 30 convenient locations throughout Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Florida. One of the nation's largest ACE dealers. Expertise and great product selection in paint, hardware, lawn and garden. That's Rockies. Rock solid service since 1926. On the web at rockies.com.
This is Ken Stomsky from Ken's Den on WCPC 15 and 89.5 FM, Tuesdays 8 to 10.
Community Radio
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:39. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio this morning with Dr. Akinyele Lovelace, primary care physician with Family Medicine Associates here in Westfield. And the topic today is men's health awareness, because November or Movember is Men's Health Awareness Month. So we kind of started, and Dr. Lovelace kind of started talking about the fact that a lot of young men in their 20s and 30s, don't really have much of a relationship with a healthcare provider. They're young and they're strong and they're kind of in their prime, and unless there's a significant problem, not necessarily going to the doc. So that does create a bit of a barrier, and I think it also means that when they do end up in the doctor's office a little bit later on, it takes a little time to develop a rapport and I think a sense of trust. So. Dr. Lovelace, where do you want to start just in terms of...
I want to start with that song.
Isn't it a great song?
No.
Sad.
I think it's sad.
Yeah,
I think well,
it is.
To your point, it's well written.
Yeah.
I'll say that much. I think it's well written, but I think it's so very fitting that you chose that song because it does highlight some of the key struggles that I deal with in men's health, and that is their mental health and how they feel about themselves as people and as a human. And, not about what we feel, but what we provide inside the home, indicating that you only have value if you're actually earning or providing in that way.
Yeah.
A lonely road, what you're worth. They only know what you're worth when you're dead. Mm-hmm. I mean, grab the bottle, right? These are the actual things that I have to deal with on a daily basis when we're talking about men's health, because a lot of men right now struggle with their emotion, which is what we heard in that song.
Yep, absolutely.
And being able to explain how they truly feel in a productive and healthy way. And so instead of them having honest conversations about what they can and cannot do, they tend to utilize substances, whether it's cigarettes, alcohol, or what have you, to hide what they're going through. And so then the conversation then turns into, well, I just have a lot that's on my mind right now. No, you don't. Well, you might do, but who doesn't? Or the conversation becomes, well, there's just so much that I'm dealing with and no one would understand. That's not true, but we've got to work through that. But
is that a product of pop culture, where all the cues and stimulus they're getting around them says that men are basically not needed?
No, I think there's, but some of this is also tradition, right? I think some of the traditional values that we have in relationship to what the man's role is within the home, and if they don't meet that expectation that's been given to them, they kind of circle, they kind of go in a different direction. I do agree with pop culture to a certain extent when you talk about what success looks like, right? What does that success look like? I agree with you, Pete. I do think pop culture has something to do with that, and it is very impactful because it then creates a narrative that's not real.
Yeah.
And then we're losing, right? Like we're losing a generation of men due to substance abuse, right? The opioid epidemic is causing our average life expectancy to decline, and that has everything to do with that age range of men between their 20s and 40s who have, for whatever reason, struggle.
Yeah.
Right. And so I do think, to your point, awareness in mental health is one of the key things.
It's huge.
And so that song just struck a lot of chords with me, because I was like,
and I'll tell you what, off air, if you get a chance to watch the video is really powerful. That goes along with that song. Again, for those that are just joining us, the song that we played it's called "To Be a Man" by Dax, D-A-X. And it's a really powerful video. And I think that as much as Movember or Men's Health Awareness, the sort of the founders of the movement, it wasn't just about physical health, although that was a big piece of it. It was about depression. And we also, you get into a whole other topic of men and suicide. The suicide rates among men are far greater than among women. And we have to, as a society, kind of look at that. And that's globally. That's not just in this country. But why is that? What are these expectations that men are putting on themselves? And we've I think in general the feeling is that women are more apt to share personal stuff, and men are not. They're when women get together with our friends, we talk a lot about our feelings and and sort of the psychology of life. And guys talk about like who won the game on Sunday, and and jobs and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, as guys, we check in, but we don't have sometimes those in-depth conversations that we normally would have amongst a group.
Yeah.
Right? I think it's a little bit different. I think for men, sometimes we have conversations, if they're a little bit more intimate, we choose to pick and choose who we're going to have that conversation with. And usually it takes a little bit more time to acknowledge the fact that there might be a weakness, right? I think that is kind of where we may differ just slightly collectively.
Yeah.
I do think when it comes back to men's health, when I am having a conversation and doing an annual physical that's specific to a man, mental health is I always check in about depression, right? Because after that, in your 20s and 40s, your alcohol use, cigarette use, and any other substance use is going to be the key driver to determining what your 50s and 60s are going to look like.
Okay.
Because those habits have a huge relationship. I spend weekends in the hospitals rounding on patients, and the men that are there sometimes in their 50s and 60s, if they had unfortunate predetermined conditions from a genetic decision, so be it. But sometimes a good portion of them are there because of alcohol use, right? And when you sit down and you ask, well, what happened, right? Like it's always fascinating to say, well, what happened or what's going on?
Yeah.
And you'll find that they're isolated. You'll find that they'll have an excuse for why they need to continue to drink, or something has occurred in their life that they just can't get past. And so the other portion to this conversation is, for men, a lot of times adapting and changing, right? And understanding that, like we talked about before, I can't outrun that high schooler, right? So what does the next phase of your life look like? What does part 2 look like, right? And so we get to that stage where we're in our 40s and we're in our 50s, and we start having conversations about prostate health, right? Because, sometimes when we start talking about erectile dysfunction, it can kind of lead into, well, let's make sure your prostate is
right.
And so it leads into that conversation. Then it leads into, well, you're about to be 45 now. Let's talk about your colon health, right? Because colorectal cancer becomes a concern. So we start having those conversations. And then once you get into your 50s, we start having conversations about, well, if you were a smoker, we definitely need to screen for artery disease in that main portion of the artery in your body, which is your aorta. We don't want you to have what's called an abdominal aortic aneurysm, which is a large artery in your body, and if it breaks, well, that's game over, right? And so, but that came from tobacco use, right? And so we start having those conversations about prostate health, colon health, lung health, and then it still always boils back to depression. Like we always have to come back to that to assess the fact that substance abuse becomes a huge factor. But then after that, we then start having conversations about mobility. What are we doing to continue to be able to remain active? And then after our 50s and we get well into our 60s and 70s, the other portion that I always struggle with men and men's health is men taking responsibility for their health. It's not their spouse's responsibility to know their medications. It's not their spouse's responsibility for them to know what conditions they have. It is their responsibility, because the problem is a lot of times that I've seen in my own practice is that a lot of men don't take responsibility. And then what happens? What happens when their spouse gets ill? What happens when their spouse is not available? They struggle. They struggle to the point where they sometimes end up hospitalized because they don't know what to do, because they've given up any type of idea about how to care for their own selves. And so what do I struggle with? I struggle with men in their well into their 70s at this standpoint, who now struggle with understanding even why they take their own medications. And so we go from this place where there are these men that were able to do everything, and then by the time they get to their 70s and their 80s, they act as if they don't even remember how to take a vitamin. And so we go through that entire just array of situations and scenarios as I watch men develop and grow. And I hope that throughout their lifespan, the one thing that I would ask for men to do, if we're talking about men's health, is to just remember what you've got, and to write it down and then take responsibility for it, because you ultimately, it's your fault if you are 40 pounds overweight. It's your fault that you smoke cigarettes. It's your fault that you have an alcohol problem, but you also have the ability to do something about that if you care to do that. And it's not anybody else's responsibility but your own.
How do you find, what, I have several questions. One is, in your practice, what would you say is the average age of men who come in sort of for like an annual physical? So not necessarily with, are you, because you were saying that we know that in a lot of cases, men in their 20s and 30s don't have a relationship with a care provider.
55 to 75.
Okay. All right. So that's sort of that average. And how do men respond to, and I'm sure, well, I don't know. I'm not going to say I'm sure. Do you sort of, try to sort of build up that relationship first before you kind of lay all this on them, like, hey, this is your responsibility, or do you come on pretty strong with that?
I come as who I am. And so I'm going to be very straightforward, just like we are on this conversation.
Yep, okay.
I'm not going to waste any time, and I'm not going to hold back on my thoughts about it, because there's no guarantee that person, that human, is going to come back and
is ever going to. Yeah, exactly.
There's no guarantee.
Yeah, right.
So we're going to lay it out here. We're going to have a good time. We're going to laugh. We're going to joke. I might tell you a story about me not being perfect, and then I'm going to lay it out to you, and then you're going to make that decision about what you're going to do.
Yeah.
What I won't tolerate is you giving me an excuse as to why you can't, though.
How do you find in general, again, and I know this is a generalization, but how do men respond to that? I mean, do they acknowledge it? Is it kind of the defensive, hey, it's my wife takes care of everything? Or
it depends who's in the room. It depends who's in the room. So
sometimes it's a little bit of both.
It depends who's in the room, right? So I agree, Pete. It is a little bit of both.
Interesting.
But if their spouse is in the room, it can kind of get in the way of the relationship with the provider.
Yeah.
From my own experience.
Yeah.
Because they're going to take their cues from their spouse, right? Or their spouse is going to say, well, make sure you say this, or I want to be in here so that the doctor knows about blank, because you sometimes don't tell the doctor, and which is fine, and I'm okay with that, because sometimes they're not, but that gets in the way of me having that relationship, right? Gotcha. And so, and it's still a personality thing, also, right?
Yeah.
I don't anticipate getting along with everybody, but I do think it kind of depends on who's in the room sometimes.
Yeah, you know what? I absolutely, and I can see both sides of that, because I can see the wife kind of saying, oh yeah, he's going to go in and say to the doc, everything's fine, and it's not. And or he's going to lead the doctor into believing that he takes his medication every day, but he doesn't, or that he's drinking or not drinking. And so I get both.
But the flip side to that is that for a provider that has been doing this for most of their life, you see patterns.
Yeah, they know the questions to ask.
And so you want to give the person the opportunity to present who they are.
Yeah.
And I do think over time, no matter what, that person is going to tell you exactly what it's going to be. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not worried, nor am I in a rush.
Okay.
And so I want to create that trust. Mm-hmm. And I can't sometimes have trust if there is this concept that there is some outside force that's telling me what to do, because then if that occurs, then we don't have an honest relationship. Yeah. And the thing that makes it really hard is when times do get hard, when you do get that diagnosis of lung cancer, you get that diagnosis of liver cancer or lung cancer, and who are you going to talk to about the prognosis and the condition? Your spouse is going to be there, but they're going to be there for you emotionally. You need your provider to be of sound mind and be able to communicate to you in a way in which you can trust that what they're saying has your best interest in mind. And so that takes time.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's take another breath. There's a lot of stuff going on here. All right, this
men's
one,
health.
Men's health. I know. All right, we're going to listen to this one's a little bit not quite as heavy as the Dax one. So we're going to listen to "Walk Like a Man" by the Four Seasons. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield Masses on WCPC cable channel 15. If you're just joining us, my guest is Dr. Akinyele Lovelace, and the topic is Men's Health Awareness Month. We'll be back.
Oh, how you tried.
Support for community radio on WSKB is provided by Betts Plumbing and Heating Supply Company, an independent, family-owned wholesaler serving Westfield for over 50 years, specializing in plumbing, heating, and industrial piping supplies. On the web at bettsplumbing.com or at 14 Coleman Avenue in Westfield.
Listen to me, Michael Buster McMahon, Mondays 8 to 10 a.m. to learn the stories behind your favorite songs. Or don't. I'm not the boss of you.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB. Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 6:57. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. If you're just joining us, my guest this morning is Dr. Akinyele Lovelace, primary care physician with Family Medicine Associates here in Westfield, in that pretty pink building that we always say looks like it's right out of Florida, right out of Miami. All right, so Dr. Lovelace, the topic this morning, and we're going to kind of summarize and wrap up, is Men's Health Awareness Month. November is Men's Health Awareness Month.
That it is.
And I really like the fact that you circled around and we talked about the physical health, which obviously is important, you know, prostate cancer and all of those things, and screenings and colonoscopies and so forth, but that we also have sort of begun the conversation about men's mental health.
Yeah.
Which is just so important. That whole thing about depression. And you know, you use the word, and I didn't want to interrupt you, but you used the word men feeling isolated. And I think it's important to know with anyone with depression, they can feel isolated in a big family.
Yep.
And so when we use the term isolation, that doesn't mean, because we have men who live alone. They've either never married or the marriage didn't work out or whatever, or they're widowed. But you can also have, a man who's in a loving relationship with, 3 or 4 children or whatever, but still feeling really isolated, and for a lot of the reasons that we talked about, without, with just not feeling able to express what's really going on, and what Dax talked about in the song, or
very much so. Very much so.
Go ahead.
No. I agree. The isolation is a key thing, and just remembering to check in with yourself, right? Yeah. And to, I think the funny thing a lot of times when we talk about that isolation is you get that feeling that you're stuck, right? And so I just remember as a young child dreaming about being a million different things, right? I dreamed of being on the radio. I dreamed of being...
I'm so glad to have fulfilled that dream.
Yeah, I dreamed of playing basketball for the Knicks. I dreamed,
you can't help you with that.
No, you can't help me with that. I didn't have the height nor the hand size. But what I will say is that dreaming, right? Like as boys, and having that curiosity, for whatever reason, that gets dulled down. Right. And so that sometimes can also lead to that isolation, because you stop being curious about what other opportunities in life are out there for you. And I think that's the other part to that conversation sometimes. And you talk about, you have someone who has everything, it appears. They have the family, the cat and the dog, but they feel isolated. And a lot of times it's because they're not looking to grow any further. And sometimes that can create that feeling of isolation. So I always encourage, especially for men who are nearing retirement age, my firefighters, my police officers, I encourage them to say, hey, well, what does that next step look like? And keep dreaming about that, because that's going to help you get through those moments where you might feel just somewhat isolated. And that allows us to have more conversations about mental health as well.
All right. And on that note, we're going to wrap it up.
Cheers.
It is 7 o'clock. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. Dr. Akinyele Lovelace, thank you so much. And have a wonderful Thanksgiving. I know you'll be spending some of that weekend in doing hospital rounds and so forth.
I will be.
We so appreciate that.
Have a great day.
Have a good one.
Underwriting for Community Radio is provided by the YMCA of Greater Westfield. Every day, the YMCA strengthens the community through programs and services focused on youth development, healthy living, and social responsibility. For all the Y's many programs and services, visit us on the web at www.westfieldymca.org. The YMCA, 67 Court Street in downtown Westfield. We're more than a gym. We're a cause.
Underwriting for Community Radio on WSKB is brought to you in part by Rockies. Over 30 convenient locations throughout Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, Connecticut, and Florida. One of the nation's largest ACE dealers. Expertise and great product selection in paint, hardware, lawn and garden. That's Rockies. Rock solid service since 1926. On the web at rockies.com.
Hi, this is Harry Rock, host of Rock on Westfield every fourth Wednesday at 8 a.m. Tune in for my view of this place I call home.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:04. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and my guest second hour is Jen Jafune, our resident licensed nutritionist and registered dietitian. So welcome, Jen.
Thank you.
So before we get into the topic, your topic of the day, because we had Movember, our men's health awareness was Dr. Akinyele Lovelace's topic. But we have some birthdays to do, some national days, and a few announcements for the senior center that we have to do. So it is November 15th. So let's do a couple of famous birthdays today. We have to do the two that I've chosen are the two whose songs I really like, so that's what I get to play. So it is the birthday of Petula Clark. She was a singer, songwriter, She's 91 years old today.
No way.
Can you imagine Pet Clark is 91, born in Surrey, England. She is among the best-selling British female artists of all time, with one of the largest chart spans of any artist in history. Pet Clark was first discovered at age 9 on It's All Yours, which was a BBC show that broadcast children's messages for the troops. When rehearsal was interrupted by an air raid, Clark volunteered to sing to settle the jittery audience. At the age of 9, by the way.
Wow.
She found herself on stage, standing on a box to reach a big old-fashioned microphone, the first she had ever sung into, in front of the orchestra in front of the first orchestra that she had ever seen. And this is a quote, she said, "I sang, and the orchestra joined in, just like in a movie." You can imagine a 9-year-old kid. Having fallen for a Frenchman, she moved to France in 1960 and hit records all over Europe. By the mid-'60s, with such hits as Downtown and My Love having topped the American charts, Clark became a true international star. In 1964, the song Downtown beat the Beatles to a Grammy and led Clark to be anointed the First Lady of the British Invasion. By 1966, Petula Clark was one of the most popular and best-selling female singers in the world, with other hits including, this is what kills me. It's like you start to just have this laundry list of songs going, oh, yeah, oh, yeah, oh, right. Yeah. So she sang, "I Couldn't Live Without Your Love," "This Is My Song," "Sign of the Times," "Don't Sleep in the Subway," and "Kiss Me Goodbye." This was interesting, she and Harry Belafonte inadvertently caused a media storm in 1968 when Petula Clark took Belafonte's arm during a duet for her 1-hour special for NBC. A Plymouth Motors advertising executive took exception to a white woman and a black man touching on television.
My God.
And I saw the video, and literally, she touched his arm. I mean, it wasn't like an embrace or anything. Yep, nope. But 1968.
Yeah.
At the age of 87, Clark undertook a major concert tour of Australia before returning to London to play the Bird Woman in a West End revival of Mary Poppins at the Prince Edward Theatre. In August 2021, so this is kind of
couple of years
a couple of years ago in sort of pandemic mode. She returned to her role in the London production of Mary Poppins after the 17-month enforced closure due to the world pandemic.
At 89.
Yep.
Wow.
The day before her 90th birthday, producer of Mary Poppins, Sir Cameron Mackintosh, paid tribute to Petula Clark on stage at the Prince Edward Theatre at the end of the performance and showed the audience film clips from her 80-year career. Yeah, 90 years old, performing The Bird Woman, what a perfect role for her. Clark continued performing in Mary Poppins on the London stage until the final performance of January of this year.
Wow.
That's amazing. It's amazing.
Inspiring.
It is inspiring. She's like one of my new role models. I mean, that is so cool. So anyway, and she, she talked. I read a little bit about, in her bio, and she said, of course, as a lot of these child stars are, they say you're really naive when you start in with all of this. And of course, back in those days, too, there was a time, I think, when she found herself, when she actually fell for the French guy. And but, she was kind of broke because, people had taken advantage and other people managed money. There were no children's rights back then. So, and that happened with a lot of childhood actors as well that are boomers.
Still.
All right. And so this is another group that I really love. So I decided to do this birthday as well. It is the birthday of Frida Lyngstad. She's a singer-songwriter, born on this day in 1945 in Norway. She's 78 years old. Frida is most widely known as a member of the internationally successful Swedish pop band ABBA.
Oh, yep.
Prior to joining the quartet, she had a solo career as a jazz singer in Sweden. In 1969, Lyngstad met keyboardist and composer Benny Andersson during a song competition, and soon after joined in the formation of ABBA. Hits include, here's another one. I stopped after like 10, but hits include Dancing Queen, Money, 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 Waterloo, SOS, Take a Chance on Me, and Mamma Mia, to name just a few. ABBA was known for wearing outlandish outfits, and the reason was to appease. I had heard this on National Public Radio years ago, and I thought, is that really true? The reason they wore the outfits was to appease Swedish tax authorities, who at the time had special tax discounts for items of clothing bought for work purposes that couldn't be worn for everyday life.
Really?
Yes. And the members of ABBA said that when they go back and look at like their videos, it's like, oh my God, we look ridiculous.
Right.
But that's why they did it. And I had heard that, and I read that in several different places. The loophole almost certainly wasn't created to make tax exemptions for pop bands' stage clothes, but technically, ABBA was right, as nobody was wearing that outfit down the shops. After the breakup of ABBA, Frida resumed her solo career with limited success and retired in 1996. In 2021, the ABBA group reunited to release the album Voyage, and then had a specially built arena made in London for a virtual concert residency using digital avatars of the singers and a live band beginning in the spring of 2022. So they embraced the digital age. So happy birthday, happy 78th birthday to Frida Lyngstad from ABBA. So that's so cool, because later on in the show we get to listen to Pat Clark and we get to listen to ABBA. So then Jen Jafune, in dealing with sort of the food end of things, because we needed an introduction there, I came up with today, November 15th, and I actually was working on this over the weekend. It's National Clean Out Your Refrigerator Day, right? You know that? It's National Clean Out Your Refrigerator Day. So let's talk a little bit about that. So National Clean Out Your Refrigerator Day on November 15th encourages us to prepare for the upcoming holidays. Get soap and a hot water-filled bucket, disinfectant, a rag, and a trash bag, and then you'll be ready for the day. And I actually started doing this over the weekend, and I did it because I had gone food grocery shopping.
Right.
And I'd gone to the butcher shop and, in kind of preparing for some of the the Thanksgiving stuff. And I opened up the refrigerator and went, oh, okay, well, we need to do some rearranging here. And rearranging meant taking stuff out. And then it meant, checking dates. And then it meant saying, how long has this been in here? And so I found myself, and I already knew about National Clean Out Refrig Day, so I was like a little early. So with family gathering and a large turkey waiting to be roasted, cleaning out the refrigerator makes sense. Not only will we need room before the meals, but we also need space for all of the upcoming leftovers. Because of our hectic and busy lifestyles, cleaning the refrigerator often gets neglected. And I know, as much of a cleaning person as I am, I'm not good with this. There may be a surprise or two found at the back of the shelves.
Yep.
Yes. Things are often pushed back as new food is put in front and gets forgotten. Now, I am firm about this, and my family knows this. In the refrigerator, but also in my cupboard. So like when I buy new things, I take the old stuff and push it to the front and put the new stuff in the back. Really important. Okay, Sanitation Foundation International, NSF, found that the meat and vegetable drawers were the dirtiest spots in our kitchen with regards to causing disease. There's plenty of advice available on the frequency of refrigerator cleaning. Understanding food labels and the meaning behind sell-by and best-by dates are also important. These labels don't necessarily mean that a product has gone bad, but that the quality is best by the date on the label. However, use by leaves some of us wondering, like, what does that mean, use by? So Jen is going to enlighten.
Yes.
You want to do that now? You can enlighten us on all these different labels, because I gave her that as an assignment.
Okay, so there are 5 dates that could be on foods.
Okay.
Best by,
Yep.
pack date, sell by, use by, and expires by.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Expires by is like the easiest one. It's like
Expires by is the only one that really takes into account safety.
Okay.
And that you shouldn't have something after the expiration date.
Okay.
All the others have nothing to do really with safety.
Okay.
So I was actually surprised by that because I thought some of them had to do with that. So Best By is the manufacturer deciding the peak quality stops after this date.
Okay.
That's what Best By
And then it'll say best if used by. That's
this
the thing,
date.
Yeah. Okay.
So you can eat it after that date. You just won't have its peak flavor or quality or texture. Pack date, so packed by, simply is a manufacturer's way of doing two things. One, taking care of their inventory as they process foods to go out. And two, locating foods and where they're from if something happens out in the community.
They have a recall.
Things that usually have pack dates are canned goods, crackers, cookies, spices. But you'll also, a manufacturer can determine based on codes they put on things.
Sure.
So you may not always see a pack by date. Sell by is more of an inventory management tool of a supermarket.
Right.
So two different things. Pack date is the manufacturer's inventory, and sell by is your supermarket's inventory.
Okay.
And they will take sell-by foods and put it in a section of, you can buy these things even though it's past the sell-by date. And things are always on the shelf past their sell-by date, but again, it has nothing to do with
safety. Yeah.
And you'll often find sell-by dates on dairy products like milk, yogurt, cream, eggs, deli meat, and salad mixes. What I did do also, based on that, is, not only do you have to, pay attention to that somewhat, but you should know how long you can keep things in your fridge safely.
Right.
Because that's not on a label anywhere.
Right.
So I have a small list, but basically, I judge everything by how it smells and how it looks.
Okay.
Most things can stay in your fridge for 2 to 7 days.
Okay.
That's the general rule of thumb.
Okay.
But raw meats, 1 or 2 days if they're past that date.
What about cooked meats?
Cooked meats, 3 to 4 days, as long as you keep things at the right temperature.
Okay.
So they have to be refrigerated within 4 hours. They have to then stay in the fridge.
Yep.
Milk is interesting to me. It can stay in the fridge perfectly fine for 7 days unless you store it on the door. If you store it on the door,
and I have
you
heard
can't.
that with different things stored on the door.
It gets heated more because it's
because
opened
you
more.
open it. Okay. Yeah.
But something like dry rice or pasta, that's good in your pantry for 2 years, unless you cook it. Then it's got 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's sell by. Use by is similar to best by. So use by is peak quality by this date. If you use it after, you can. It's just not going to taste as exceptional.
It's flavorful.
But the expiration date is the one thing that you have to pay attention to.
Yeah.
And after that, you don't use it. Why you don't use it can be a number of things. The nutritional quality can be so decreased that it could be dangerous. So there's an expiration date on infant formula.
Okay.
You don't want to use that after,
Yep.
you know.
Yep.
Baby food, vitamins, over-the-counter medications. I can't tell you how often I used to, once every 4 or 5 years, clean out my medication stuff.
Yep.
And there'd be stuff that
20 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I clean it out annually.
Yeah.
Because
And that's not just for, that's also including like ointments and, you know, it's not
everything.
just pills that you take. But,
Right.
Yeah, or,
right.
you know,
and the
liquid.
problem with those is they can either get weaker or stronger, and there's no information on
Yeah,
a
you
label
don't-
that
you don't
tells
know what's
you.
happening.
Cake mix, baking powder, pectin, you know, all of those kind of things have an expiration date, and you should really note those. And aside from my visual and smell issue, you can tell something may be bad if there are weird dents, if things are leaking out of a can.
Yes, of course.
If a bulging can or
Yes.
lid, you never want to buy those. If you open something and it's
it
not
explodes.
well, it's not carbonated and it goes whoosh,
Yes.
you know, then
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
that is not good to eat.
Right.
Something that's bubbling that shouldn't be.
Yes. Any food that you open that's doing something that it's not supposed to.
Yeah.
Probably not a good idea.
Or
to
you
consume
go to
it.
open a lid of something you've never opened before and it's like easy off. Like you didn't have to unbreak a seal.
Yes.
I mean, obvious things. If there's mold growing on the top of something or there's some weird colored liquid or something like that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
So
okay. So well, thank you for that update because I when I was doing this, I was like, all right, what are we doing with this best buy date and sell by and use by? All right. So here's how you're going to clean this refrigerator. You're going to empty each shelf, completely wipe down the inside of the refrigerator, wash the drawers, and then for me, it's underneath the drawers that get really yucky. Obviously, as Jen said, throw away all expired and moldy food. Get rid of anything that you don't use. You know, sometimes it's like you're going, like I'll do this. You know, you'll buy something for a recipe, one recipe.
And then it sits there.
And then you're thinking, when did I make that? Oh my God, it was like 4 Christmases ago or something. You know, get rid of it. Vacuum. This is the thing that my refrigerator repairman has told me. Vacuum condenser coils and underneath the refrigerator. Like I have to keep those clean.
So can I throw 2 things in here?
Yes.
First of all, you need a place to put your food that's in the refrigerator so it stays at the right temperature while you're cleaning, and you unplug your fridge to vacuum out the back.
Yes, absolutely. You got to pull it away from the wall, unplug it. You need to do that anyway because I wipe the cord down because that's going to be all dusty and yucky and everything. And this is a good time to do the cleaning because you can, as Jen said, you know, you can kind of pack the stuff in coolers and put it like in the garage or outside.
Yep.
I mean, it doesn't, you know, when you're wiping down a refrigerator, it just doesn't take you hours. I mean, you're just wiping it down. It's not
Although
it
for
doesn't
some
take forever.
people, if you've got to scrub something that's leaked
I
under
guess
a
that's
drawer
true.
and
Well, yeah. Okay. Restock your shelves and drawers with good food and then enjoy your nice, clean, organized refrigerator. Now, things are always getting lost in my refrigerator. How do I fix that? Well, those items that get shoved to the back are easy to forget. Did you know that many of the shelves, which I did not know this, on today's models slide forward for easy inspection? Just lift up and pull forward. Other tricks include see-through labeled containers, lazy Susans, and dividers. I use all of that. Like I'm a super organizer, crazy person. So
I'm not, but I use blue paint tape.
Oh, okay.
And I have a Sharpie
Whatever works
and
for
I write
you.
on those.
Yeah,
And I
whatever
try to
works for
remember
you.
to put the date
Yeah.
that I put it in there.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's really funny because you can go to Ocean State. They've got a whole area with all these refrigerator organizer things, little shelves, and everything is see-through. I'm all about see-through now, so that I know what's in there. And by the way, if you happen to be a nursing mother, only because I live with a nursing mother right now, Grace is really great about pumping. And not only does she date, she puts the time. So she'll put the time, the date. She gets all the air out. She has these little bags. She stacks them up. She moves. I mean, she is ridiculously, organized about moving and giving.
That's pretty.
This is good. This is the oldest of the milk. We're going to use this first. Yeah, she's super, super good about that. And then what temperature should I set my refrigerator? And the answer to that is, according to the Food and Drug Administration, 40 degrees Fahrenheit or below is the ideal temperature to keep food safe and chilled.
Right, but you don't want your fridge to be below 32.
No, you don't want it to be.
Then
it'll be freezing. Yeah, exactly. All right. So happy National Clean Out Your Refrigerator Day. Everybody, get to it. So that you're on it. So listen, we need to take a break, and then we're going to get into Jen's topic of the day. Before I take a break, I want to do one thing, and that is I do want to do a shout out to the Knappich brothers, Dan Knappich and Mike Knappich, who filled in for me last week because I was at the senior center until about 9 o'clock or so because we are a polling location. So one of us has to stay, and not only until the polls close somebody said, well, the polls close at 7. Right, but then they have to count the ballots.
Right.
Then they have to post everything. There's a police officer. Everything has to get cleaned up. It's all got to be, everybody's got to observe all this stuff now. And so it's a process.
Right.
So anyway, I had said to Pete, I'm not coming in and doing the show in the morning because I don't know what time I'm going to get home. And so Pete had, I talked to Pete. I said, I'm giving you enough notice so that if you want to get somebody in to do election analysis, and it was Pete's idea to get Dan and Mike Knappich in, and
perfect.
And they were great. And they did, they did an analysis of both the local edition. When I tuned in, they were doing national. And Gary said to me, oh, I thought they were just going to talk local. And I said, no, I'm glad they covered everything. And they had Mayor McCabe call in and kind of talk about his goals and stuff. So thank you to both of you for filling in for me. And I understand, Pete, are you back there?
Yes.
Yes, I understand that they would like to do a segment with Sullivan Brothers.
We'll see if they can pull that together.
I said, and I texted them, and I said, listen, I am all about that. You absolutely can do that on a Wednesday morning. I would love to see the Sullivan brothers and the Knappich brothers discussing politics. That would be entertaining.
Yeah.
Yes.
Educational and entertaining at the same time. All right, so it is 6:26. You're listening to WSKB.
Wait, it's not 6:26.
It is 7:26.
Okay.
Thank you. It is 7:26. I'm back an hour. We did change the clock. 7:26, you're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. And believe it or not, when I plugged in, when I Googled, songs about refrigerators, there is a song. It's called The Fridge. Well, actually, there were several. And they're a riot. Okay. This one is called The Fridge. It's by Cooper Allen, and this is in honor of National Clean Out Your Refrigerator Day. And it actually is about cleaning out your refrigerator.
Oh,
it's hysterical. We'll be back.
I was gonna wake up and clean the grill, pressure wash the deck, maybe pay my bills, throw a fresh coat of paint on the shed, weed whack the weeds, shop vac the Chevy, sweep them floors in WD-40, every door but then started cleaning out the fridge, came across a beer, had to tip them back till the bottom rack was clear. Then I had a thought, out in the garage, should open that Yeti, start polishing it all. I didn't cross a single thing that I had off my list, but I cleaned out the fridge. Okay, the cooler in the fridge. Check the lawn chair was folding right, if the cup holder still holds them tight. It does. Networking, FaceTiming my friends. Yeah, funny how it started back when I was cleaning out the fridge. Came across a beer, had to tip them back till the bottom rack was clear. Right. Then I had a thought, out in the garage, should open that Yeti, start polishing it all. whole day in the blow-up pool. It was pretty cool. Yep. Started cleaning out the fridge, came across a beer, had to tip 'em back till the bottom rack was clear. Then I had a thought, out in the garage, should open that Yeti, start polishing it off. Okay. I didn't cross a single thing that I had off my list, but I cleaned out the fridge. Pretty good day. Okay, the cooler and the fridge. Yeah, I cleaned out the fridge. See y'all next week. Okay, the cooler and the front fridge and the back fridge.
Underwriting support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Greater Westfield Chamber of Commerce, the voice of business for the Greater Westfield communities. Informing, educating, advocating, the Chamber provides opportunities for members to make meaningful connections on local, regional, and state levels. For more information on the Chamber's many events, workshops, and programs, as well as the benefits of membership, visit westfieldbiz.org. The Chamber focuses on the most important economy, yours.
Hi, it's Bob Plass, and I have Wow, It's Tuesday, every Tuesday, 6 to 8. Wow, it's Tuesday.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
I did it!
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 at 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:30. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses on WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and we are doing our Food for Thought segment this morning, and Jen DeFune is my guest, registered dietitian and licensed nutritionist. So welcome, Jen.
Thank you.
Before we get started on her particular topic of the day, I just have two announcements that are senior center related. One is that the Friends of the Westfield Senior Center is sponsoring their annual lottery ticket holiday fundraiser. So it's $5 for a sheet of 25 tickets, and the winner will receive a holiday box filled with gift bags and tags and holiday cards and tissue paper and tape. So everything for giving, and $100 worth of lottery tickets. And typically they've won, so one of those tickets. And, they're in different denominations. So our winners have used them as stocking stuffers. They've sometimes saved some for themselves and given some out as gifts. But anyway, it's a really nice prize. We will be drawing the winner on Thanksgiving Day because I will be working on Thanksgiving. And so you have about a week or so to get your tickets. They are selling quickly. It's a fun gift and it's a great fundraiser for the Friends group. So you can get your tickets at the front desk at the Senior Center, or if you get curbside meals, and we have a lot of people getting them as they drive through. And I also wanted to remind folks that every Friday, Nancy Greenwood, who's a Reiki master, does a program called Rest, Relax, and Recharge. It's a guided imagery program from 2:30 to 3:30. There's no charge for this, no advance signups. So, please feel free to come over, and she's usually in the Creativity Center. It's just kind of a nice way to unwind at the end of a crazy busy week. So that is on Friday afternoons from 2:30 to 3:30. So Jen, I didn't realize this when you told me what the topic is, but I realized that November is World Vegan Month. Did you know that?
No.
Oh my gosh! And I thought that's why you chose the topic.
No, I just.
So I said, when I was looking up my monthly observances and my daily observances and so forth, I said, oh, no wonder she chose this. Oh, that's so funny. Well, I'm going to do this little intro, and I'm going to let you take it from there. So, calling all vegans, World Vegan Month. It's World Vegan Month, not national. It's world, is an annual designation observed in November. This month, plant-based eaters from across the globe come together to celebrate their 100% cruelty-free lifestyle. So, what exactly defines a vegan? Veganism is a way of life that excludes all forms of cruelty to animals for food, products, or any other purpose. There are many different ways to embrace the vegan lifestyle, but the underlying rule is to eat a plant-based diet. Vegans also go a step further than just avoiding meat. They also try to avoid fish, dairy, eggs, and honey, as well as products like leather or fur. You might be thinking, as I was, so what can they eat? Surprisingly, there are thousands of vegan recipes out there that are delicious and exceptionally nutritious. So why choose to go vegan? Well, I'm going to give you 5 reasons. 1, going vegan treats or reverses health conditions that you may already have. Many experts say a plant-based diet is often more effective than medication or even medical procedures when it comes to treating diseases. 2, sticking to a plant-based lifestyle helps you to get slim and stay that way. Vegans are the only group of people who average a normal and healthy BMI or body mass index because they don't eat animal products that are calorie dense. 3, animal products usually contain bacteria, antibiotics, hormones, dioxins, and other toxins that can lead to health problems in humans. This is one reason that food poisoning is so common. 4, you can try amazing new meals. This floored me. There are more than 20,000 kinds of edible plants in the world. I would have said there are like 25. So 20,000. Believe it or not, prepared with the right spices and side dishes, these plant-based meals are delicious and satisfying. And number 5, and I think this is really true, it's never been so easy to be vegan. These days, most supermarkets have entire sections devoted to the vegan lifestyle, including meat replacement options and delectable desserts. So there you go, my friend Jen DeFune. There's your introduction.
Okay.
Take it away. We're going to be talking about plant-based
eating.
Yeah.
So what I want to say, first of all, is you don't have to become a vegan in order to benefit from eating more plant-based foods.
Yes.
There are a million different ways to do this, leaning from an omnivore who eats everything, meats, animal products, down to vegan foods, and on the way down.
Okay.
So, and what I want to point out is you can reap a benefit by even just having one meatless meal a week.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking breakfast because often breakfast can be meatless, but maybe a lunch or a dinner once a week can help.
Absolutely.
By eating more plant-based foods, you lower your risk of heart disease, stroke, heart attack. You can help with lowering blood pressure. You can help manage diabetes. You can decrease your risk for cancer. There is study after study after study that will prove this. And so making the conscious effort to try to, at least once a week, do something, you can make a big difference. And if you don't want to give up your meat meals, you can find ways to put some plant-based foods into the foods that you eat.
So sort of supplement some of those.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So other reasons that people want to, besides health, do something in a more plant-based lifestyle could be environmental. So, we have a planet that is in danger, and it's in danger from greenhouse gases, it's in danger from pollution, and you may also feel ethically that you don't want to harm animals. So there's a lot of reasons. And one other one that I do want to point out is allergies. So, if you have like a milk allergy, suddenly you're going to be introduced to the new world of dairy-free, plant-based alternatives.
Yep.
So there are a lot of reasons why someone might want to do this. And the other thing I always want to throw out there is you may try something that isn't for you, and that's okay. Not all animal-based foods are something you like, so you have to acknowledge that not all plant-based foods are going to be something you like.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
you don't want to try one recipe and say, "Oh, this is not for me." Well, how many recipes do you have with, hamburger in it that you say, not so much?
Right. So, ways to take that leap forward would be to, first of all, ask your friends. do you ever cook anything that is meat-free? Because they'll have a recipe that maybe you would want to then try because it's their tried and true recipe.
Right.
There's a million cookbooks out there. One of my favorite cookbooks out there is fine as long as you are okay with bad language, because it actually has curses all throughout the book. It used to be, well, I'm not going to say what it used to be called. It's now called Bad Manners.
Okay.
And it's hysterical as long as you're not offended by bad language.
Okay.
Because it'll say, why are you beep eating that when you can beep eat this?
Yeah.
You know? And the recipes are easy and very flavorful.
Really?
And actually, I gave it to one of my daughters when she was eating a vegetarian lifestyle, mostly vegan, and it was 6 months later, and she called and she said, hey, did you know this is like a vegan cookbook? Like, yeah, that's why I gave it to you. But she, the recipes were just good recipes that she hadn't figured that out yet.
Now, is there a difference? Because you brought it up, so I'm going to ask the question. Is there a difference between people who are vegetarian and vegan?
Yes, actually.
What
good
is that
question.
difference?
So a vegetarian eats plant-based protein sources, so no animal meats, no anything like that. But you can be what's called an ovo-lacto vegetarian, so you might have eggs and dairy products from a cow. I actually have people who call themselves pescatarians, so they're mostly vegetarians, but they'll allow themselves to have fish products. A vegan, though, is someone who has no animal products at all. So no honey because it comes from a bee.
Right.
No meat or dairy products. Everything is plant-based. But in this day and age, I will say even I have found that there are flexible vegans and there are militant vegans, and there's everything in between.
I love those two terms. I'm thinking, okay, strict vegan. I like that. Yeah. Militant and flex. Okay.
Oh, I've been yelled at by vegans who,
Yeah. It's like, that's not vegan enough.
Right.
Right.
So, I would say a flexible vegan might be someone who would have honey. They're not going to have an animal butchered, meal.
Yeah, they're not going to have a steak.
So, in the same way we have a term these days called flexitarian, I consider myself a flexitarian. A flexitarian is someone who prefers to eat vegan, but if they had to, they'll, I worked late last night, and the day before I had made my husband chicken teriyaki. And I had all good intentions to go home and make myself a tofu meal, but when I walked in the door, I was so hungry, I ate the chicken.
Yeah.
Did I love it? No. Do I want to eat that regularly? No. Am I eating the tofu today? Absolutely. But, a flexitarian will bend and be flexible.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Got that.
So where you're going to put your focus if you're going to try to have a plant-based lifestyle or work towards it, you're going to be looking at where can I get protein.
Yeah.
So as an omnivore, you get it from chicken, fish, turkey, beef, lamb, veal, eggs, dairy, cow's milk, dairy.
Yeah, exactly.
And how do you try something that's not? One of the easiest things I can tell people is you can make a meatless lunch in a snap by having something like a peanut butter sandwich. There's your protein. You can throw chickpeas into a salad. There's some protein. You can buy a veggie burger that's in the freezer section of the supermarket. I encourage people, depending on their health issues, I prefer people get a veggie burger that has a protein value. So it's got either some type of soy base or, something that will have protein in it versus just rice and corn.
Right.
Because you don't want to not meet your protein needs for the day.
Right.
Easy meatless meals can be something like lentil soup or chili made with just beans. These are things people already know how to make.
Right.
So I find those easy ways to start your foray into this.
Yeah.
There are more, I hate to use this word, but scary foods to try because people are averse to the unknown, like tofu.
Yeah.
Tofu is fermented soy. It's packaged as a white square block.
It's like a block.
Yep.
It's like a brick.
It is. And what's great about tofu is it absorbs any flavor you want it to have.
Yeah, tofu in and of itself has no flavor.
No,
I find that it doesn't
object
have really
to that
much flavor.
because when I was a brand new a dietetic student, we learned about tofu. I never had it. I didn't grow up with that. So the first thing I did after that class was like, I'm going to go buy myself some tofu. So I go to the supermarket. First of all, that was back in the 80s, early 80s. I couldn't find it.
You had to find it.
I finally find it. I go home, I lift off the top, and I take a big hunk and bite. Yeah, it's not good.
Well,
it has a weird texture.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing about tofu. It also is, I mean, they're soft. Yeah. They're very firm. So the very firm, you can actually cut it.
Oh, yeah.
Into like cubes, but the very soft, like I used to throw it into smoothies.
Yeah, you can do
and you didn't
smoothies
even know that it was
or
like,
desserts.
Yeah, and you didn't even, it was almost like a cream cheese or something like that.
I use super tofu, which is firmer than the extra firm.
Okay.
It is the closest texture-wise to meat.
Yeah,
it has a chew to it.
Yeah, yeah.
But the great thing about tofu is if you put it in something with a flavor, a sauce, a marinade, it'll absorb that flavor.
Right.
And so it's not I think that it's the least intimidating vegetarian substitute.
Right.
There is, and because I always draw a blank, seitan, which has a funny name. It looks like...
How do you spell that? With a C or an S?
S-E-I-T-A-N.
Okay.
It looks like about as thick as a tissue package and maybe twice as wide.
Okay.
And what it is wheat gluten. So it looks almost like giant rice kernels almost. And you really are supposed to cook it. I have never been it's not something I like the taste of. It's supposed to absorb flavors as well.
So it's so not good for someone who's on a gluten-free diet.
It's not for someone on a gluten-free diet at all. But there's also tempeh. Tempeh is also a block, but it is fermented soy, so it's not gluten at all. And these are things that you can chop up, flavor, heat, throw into things.
Yeah.
Mushrooms are not a high protein, but it has the right chew. So people are looking for a texture. Dried peas and beans. So, you can throw lentils or black beans into
like
things.
Peas and beans are something that we all know. Like everybody knows that. Like bean soup. I mean, oh my God, I love bean soup.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there is a thing at the supermarket that I love. It's called soy crumbles, or sometimes it's called grillers. There are many brands out there. I tend to like Morningstar Farms, which is the green and white packages. You'll notice the next time you go to the freezer section of the vegetarian foods, they all have their own color. So Boca is always red and white. Morningstar Farm is green and white.
Good to know.
Gardein is orange and white. So you can always find them.
Yep.
But these look like ground beef, like cooked ground beef crumbles.
Yep.
And you can throw them in anything where you would have ground beef, except you can't pat them into a
right.
patty.
Okay, you can't make like a hamburger out of them.
Right. Well, I guess you could if you had enough binders.
Yeah,
but,
you'd have to have other stuff in there as well.
So I like those because I can make vegetarian meat sauce. I can do a layer in a lasagna. I can do stuffed peppers with that. And it just absorbs whatever flavor because it's soy base. And there are out there the things like Impossible Burger and I forget the name of the other one. They are the things that actually look like meat.
Right.
And the funny thing is, the first time I had one of those, I ordered the vegetarian burger at Dallas Airport, which actually has some of the best food places in an airport you can find.
Good to know.
And I took a bite and I said to my husband, I think they gave me a real hamburger.
Oh, wow.
Now, that's how much it tasted like hamburger to me. And the woman comes back, the server, and I say, I think you gave me the wrong thing. I wanted the veggie burger. She goes, oh, no, that's the veggie burger. It's this new thing. It's called Impossible Burger. And it tastes and feels like meat. And I'm like, that's why I didn't want that. I don't want it to taste like beef because I don't like the taste of beef. So my husband and I had to switch meals. Because I already taken a bite out of it.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for something that's going to be closest to a meat a real meat. It looks, tastes, feels more like beef.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
well, I would just say, you know what? We're going to take a short break, but I think before we do that, I just want to say that I think the main thing that people need to be careful of, because I find young people do this. It's like they'll wake up one morning and declare, I'm going to be vegan today.
Yes.
And suddenly, you know, everything changes. And I really like sort of that gradual, you know, let's try this. Let's try a few meals and let's try doing, you know, 1 or 2 meals a week and kind of see where it goes. Because I think you're better at sort of saying, oh, well, you know, hey, this was really tasty, and well, let's do some more of this. And now I found a cookbook and I want to try this recipe. And to slowly build it up, because I think, you know, what happens is it's like anything. It's like any sort of specialty diet. You know, when you go cold turkey and you start doing this, you know, it'll last like a week and then you'll say, yeah.
And you spend all that money.
Yes. Yeah, you can. All right. So my guest this morning, if you're just joining us, is Jen Jafune, registered dietitian, licensed nutritionist. The topic of the day is plant-based eating. And it is National Vegan Month. So we're talking about that, but also just more of a plant-based diet for folks. All right. So we're going to take a break in honor of the birthday of Frida Lingstad of ABBA. We had to do an ABBA one. So I chose one of my favorite songs, which is Take a Chance on Me.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah.
If you change your mind, take a chance. I'm the first in line. Honey, I'm still free. Take a chance on me. If you need me, let me know. Gonna be around. If you got no place to go when you're feeling down. If you're all alone, when the pretty birds have flown, honey, I'm still free. Take a chance on me. Gonna do my very best, and it ain't no lie. If you put me to the test, if you let me try, take a chance on me. That's all I ask of you, honey. Take a chance on me.
Support for the community programming of WSKB is provided by the Dunkin' Donuts shops of Westfield and the Sardinia family. It's nice to know that even as the world changes, Dunkin' Coffee remains the same at 7 convenient locations throughout Westfield.
This is Ken Stomsky from Ken's Den on WCPC 15 and 89.5 FM, Tuesdays, 8 to 10.
Community Radio.
89.5 WSKB.
Live from Studio 120 at Westfield Technical Academy, this is WCPC Channel 15 and 89.5 FM, WSKB Westfield.
Good morning, Westfield. It is 7:54. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC Cable Channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. I'm your Wake Up Wednesday host, and I'm in the studio this morning with registered dietitian and licensed nutritionist Jen Jafune, our Food for Thought segment, and the topic is plant-based eating. So what else would you like to tell us about plant-based eating other than don't dive in head first and, do away with everything if you're do it slowly.
Well, anyone who knows me knows that we had to become a dairy-free house, a cow's milk dairy-free house about 3 years ago, which even as a dietitian, you get caught off sometimes.
Yeah.
And dairy's in something and you go, are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's a little tricky.
And so, you're always reading labels. I wanted to, because we talked about the label stuff earlier about sell-by, all that kind of stuff. I want to mention that if you want to go dairy-free or plant-based or animal product free, one of the easiest ways to do it without reading labels thoroughly and trying to figure out what an ingredient means is if it says vegan on it, it's animal product free.
And that means dairy free? I know, because I have somebody in my household who is now gluten free, dairy free. Not so much he'll do meat and chicken and fish, but gluten and dairy. And he said to me, he goes, Teen, if you see vegan, the big V on it, he goes, it's fine.
Yep.
And I got to tell you, that made my life so much easier.
Vegan does not mean gluten free.
Oh, really?
Gluten is from wheat. Wheat is a plant.
Okay.
So vegan means it's animal product free.
Okay.
So you can have something that's vegan that has gluten in it.
I'm not sure if
a cracker can be full of wheat and vegan.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
All right.
I want to mention two things. One is, and I know I'm going to catch flack for this, I am not a fan of almond milk, even though everybody, if they're going more plant-based, that's the first thing they turn to. The reasons, there are two reasons. One is there's no protein in it. So if you're going more plant-based and you're trying to make sure that you meet your protein needs, it's not your best choice.
Okay.
There are protein-based
sort of dairy
milks out there,
milk substitutes,
like soy milk, like oat milk, like something called Not Milk. I love that name. It's pea protein based, doesn't taste like peas, but there are other milks out there. But the other thing I have a problem with when it comes to almond milk is it takes 942 gallons of water to make 1 gallon of almond milk. And think about where almonds are grown in California, where there's continual water shortage and droughts and issues with water all along the western seaboard, seacoast, whatever you call that. So I'm not a fan. It takes a third of the amount of water to make any other milk, whether it's cow's milk or plant-based. So if at all possible, if you can, I would switch off of almond milk to any of the other ones.
Good to know. All right.
When it comes to vegetarian and vegan substitutes, I just want to remind people, it may look like a duck, it may quack like a duck, but it's not going to taste like a duck.
Right.
So it's an experiment. It's opening up your mind and your palate, your taste palate, to new things. And the example I always give is, I personally hate provolone cheese. I don't know what it is. It's the taste, it's the smell, it's the everything. But I tried vegan provolone cheese because that's who I am, and I like it. I like it so much. And why do I like it? Because it doesn't taste anything or smell anything like provolone. So you have to be open. They label them. They're not really, they're like mozzarella-like, provolone-like, but they're not ever going to taste like mozzarella or provolone.
And I think, the same, and you kind of alluded to this before, Jen, but the other thing are brands. I mean, it's just like, you can have 500 brands of spaghetti sauce, jarred spaghetti sauce. I like this one. I don't like this one. It's the same thing with vegan foods or, plant-based foods. It's like if you try something and you don't like it, try another brand, and you may find, this is so much better. I mean, we all do that. There are some things where it's like, I don't care what brand I get on that, but on this, I'm really picky.
Exactly. And, these things can cost a lot of money. They don't always. I can get a pound of lentils for $1.89 and make a meal for 3 or 4 days for my husband and myself, at least.
Lentils go a long way.
Yeah. But, I buy a package of chicken and there's 4 pieces in it and I've just spent $11 if I get the organic stuff. And that lasts for 2 meals.
Yeah.
If Joe's just eating it, then it's 4, but,
Yep.
So it doesn't always have to be expensive, but some of it can cost money because you're having someone put it into a format that's easier for you to try, like a veggie burger.
Right.
If you don't like it, you're not going to take it back to the supermarket and go, give me my money back, but you can write a manufacturer. If you put it in writing, you aren't going to get your money back either, but you usually get coupons to try the other 43 things that they make.
There you go. So good suggestion. All right, we are out of time. One of the things, Jen, that this kind of made me think about as you were talking about more of a plant-based diet is maybe one of the segments we can do is cooking with spices, because I think, how do you make something like tofu more flavorful? What are some of the ways to bring out the flavor of some of those foods? So just, food for thought for a topic down the road. All right, it is 8 o'clock. You're listening to WSKB 89.5 FM radio for the Westfield masses and WCPC cable channel 15. My name is Tina Gorman. Thank you to Jen Jafune, our registered dietitian and licensed nutritionist. Jen, if people want to get a hold of you, what's the phone number?
My number is 413-579-5450.
Right. And she is located above the Gas and Electric Company right on Elm Street. So we will be back next week for another segment. It'll be the day before Thanksgiving. Hard to believe that.
Wow.
Have a great week.
Change my love.
Support for community radio